Hello students and viewer. Today I am going to talk about the factors affecting plant growth. In previous chapter about the growth, we have seen the definition of growth, phases of growth and sigmoid curve. And now in this chapter, which are those factors that are going to affect the plant growth. So now see, this plant growth affecting factors, they are divided into two: external factor and internal factors. So external factor again divided into three types: climatic factors, pedagogic factor and biological factors. Whereas internal factor, they are divided into again three. First is genetic factor, second is nutritional factor and third one is hormonal factor. So likewise, in this chapter I am going to discuss only external factors. Which are those external factors and how they are affecting the plant growth. In my next lecture, I will discuss about internal factors. And in this only external factors I am going to discuss. So now, see which are those external factors. So external factors are nothing but what? These are the climatic factors. The climate is the atmospheric condition of particular region and it includes the temperature, light, humidity, even day length, wind, water and gases. So altogether we called this as the climate, right? Now first, one by one we will discuss about these climatic factors. So I'm going to start with the temperature. Now here see, so we know that a particular temperature required for the growth of a particular plants. So this temperature plays very important role in the growth of plants. The minimum, optimum and maximum temperatures varies from species to species. Suppose for example, uh, some plants they are growing with a very low temperature and some are growing in a very high temperature. Suppose we shifted the plants from a high temperature to the low temperature, then plant can't be survive. And even in case of these low temperature plants, suppose we shifted this low temperature plant towards the high temperature, again the metabolism or plant acclimatization will takes uh, major time to cope up with that external environmental conditions. So for a particular growth we should expose for a particular temperature. So see, I have given one example for this temperature. Suppose this plant shows good growth when it is exposed to 86 degree Fahrenheit for a short duration, and the same temperature has negative impact if maintained for longer duration. So see here again I have mentioned one of the term. Let me take this pen. Seasonal thermoperiodicity. So what is this seasonal thermoperiodicity? So seasonal thermoperiodicity is nothing but what? This is the plant growth which is shown by the plant according to the variation in the seasonal season. So that growth is called as seasonal thermoperiodicity. So according to season, again plant growth is depends, right? So that term is called as seasonal thermoperiodicity. Now I'm going to discuss about what will happen in high temperature and low temperature. So let's begin with the high temperature. So see, if the plant is going to have the high temperature, there will be a increase in the rate of transpiration as well as photosynthesis. Because we know if the temperature increase, the CO2 again going to increase, and CO2 is useful for photosynthesis process. And when this high temperature will be there, then rate of transpiration is nothing but what? The um, water is vaporized in the form of vapor. So water is transpires from the surface of the uh, plants. So that is a process that is known as transpiration process. Now see, second point, accumulation of organic compounds and it increases the growth. So high temperature is very important for accumulation of organic compounds because again see what we are saying, it's increases the rate of photosynthesis. So as the rate of photosynthesis increases, yes, it is going to form a different organic compounds and these organic compounds get accumulated, and as this organic compound accumulation takes place, ultimately the growth of plant will takes place. And above this 45 degrees Celsius, enzyme denatures. So this is the adverse effect of high temperature on the plant. And metabolic activities also disrupted because enzymes are very useful for uh, catabolic and anabolic reactions. So if once the enzyme they get denatured, the metabolic activities again going to disturbs. Now see, in case of low temperature, what will happen? It reduces the rate of transpiration, right? So for the transpiration again, the high temperature is required, and if temperature is going to reduce, then again it going to affect the rate of transpiration. Then it lowers the enzyme activity. See, for to carry out the enzymatic reactions, enzyme must have some specific temperature for it, and if low temperature would be there, then it's going to affect the plant growth. Then see, chilling injury. So chilling injury is nothing but what? The injury is occurs to the plant when plant is having the temperature between 0 to 10 degrees Celsius. So that is called as what? Chilling injury. So this is again happens to the plants if plant is having such a low temperature. Now, come to the next climatic factor, that is light. So now we must know that there are various light factors are there. For example, see here, light intensity, duration of light, and quality of light. These three things of the light, they are going to influences the physiological processes. So which are the physiological processes they are going to influences? For example here, movement of stomata. So movement of stomata is nothing but what? Opening and closing of stomata. So opening and closing of stomata, it's totally depend on the light. So during the daytime, most of the stomata they are closed. We know that we have studied earlier in 12th, and during night time it is getting open. So here see again chlorophyll synthesis is going to influence on the light intensity. So we know that chlorophyll synthesis takes place only in the presence of light. Then temperature of aerial organs. So aerial organ temperature is going to decide by the particular light. Then formation of anthocyanin. Anthocyanin is one kind of pigment which are present in a lower plants. So again the formation of anthocyanin, this anthocyanin is particularly present uh, in case of these riccia, right? And this pigment they are present in the midrib region, and this is helps to protect the thallus of that particular plant. Now absorption of mineral, streaming of protoplasm, and rate of transpiration. So all these physiological processes they are depending on the light. Now, difference in the wavelength of light also affects the growth of plant. So, several experiments have proved that plants that has full spectrum of visible light shows proper development and increase in dry weight. See, so means suppose plant has the full spectrum of light, then it's going to show you proper development and increase in its dry weight. And plants grows in violet and blue light tend to dwarf, whereas the plants in red light they are taller and spindly. So here again see, depending on the light the plant becomes tall or short. So in a violet and blue light, plant going to have very less height, and we called it as very dwarf condition, right? And in a red light it becomes a taller. Now, next point is intensity of light. See, so intensity of light again has a very important role in case of plant. So see, light intensity has profound effect on photosynthesis, transpiration, and indirectly on water and mineral absorption. Here see, weak light intensity is there. If it is there, then it going to reduce photosynthetic rate. It going to reduce again internodes. Internode becomes short and leaves they become expanded in this light intensity. And in case of again duration of light, see, duration of light here, one major concept is there, that is photoperiodism. Photoperiodism is nothing but what? The flowering response of the plant to the light period, that is known as photoperiodism. So that is totally depending on duration of light. So in case of photoperiodism, we learned or there are three types of photoperiodism. Short day plant means depending on the light intensity. This photoperiodism has three kinds of plants. So short day plants means what? The plants which require very short intensity of light for their flowering. Then long day plant means the plant which require very a long day for its flowering, whereas day neutral plant means what? Irrespective of the length of light, that plants is going to flower. So likewise means this duration of light is going to affect the plant growth. Then come to the next climatic factor, that is water. So everyone knows that water is very important factor which is uh, going to show you the growth of a plant. Suppose we uh, have one plant at our home and just keep the plant watering throughout the day. What will happen? Means plant will take only required amount of water, and if we are pouring abundant of water, then it is going to show you the adverse effect. And in other hand, suppose we are keeping same plant without water, it will again show you the dehydration or the wilting of leaves. Means what? If we are not giving water, plant is going to show you the effect, and if we are giving the excessive water, then again it is going to show you a effects. Means the proper amount of water is required for the growth of plant. Now come to the next part, that is humidity. So humidity is nothing but what? The moisture content of the atmosphere, that is known as humidity. So now how humidity affects. Now see, the high humidity in the atmosphere produces high temperature and light intensity. And humidity between 70 to 90 degree 90 percentage promotes growth. So this is the particular, I can say, the proper percentage of the humidity which is required for the growth of plant. Suppose low humidity is there, then there is the desiccation or we can say dehydration of the plant will takes place, and it's going to reduce the growth. So low humidity again going to adverse have the adverse effect on the plant. Then next, wind. So strong wind current causes fluttering and bending of leaves. So what is fluttering? Fluttering is nothing but what? The leaves are blown away with the wind. So that condition is known as fluttering and bending of leaves. When it is going to happen? When there will be a strong wind currents. So wind increases the rate of transpiration and creates the water stress in plant. See, so high wind will be there, then rate of transpiration obviously will be a high, and it's going to create a water stress condition, and which results in decreased growth rate. So here high wind velocity is having decreased growth rate. Now see, if the steady wind is there, then it is useful for increasing the humidity around the plant. Now next come to the gases. Now we know that atmosphere it consists of various gases in various proportions. So gases, we know that carbon dioxide, nitrogen, oxygen are necessary for physiological processes in the plant. So we know that CO2, that is very very important for photosynthesis, and O2 is very essential for respirations. And even these protein enzymes, hormones, they require nitrogen for their activity. So suppose CO2, as we have seen here, CO2 is essential for which process? Photosynthesis, right? Suppose point not 3 percentage of CO2 is there, then there will be a means point not 3 percentage of CO2 is present in an environment, and among which 0.1 percentage of CO2 it is useful for rate of photosynthesis. Uh, Rate of photosynthesis is going to increase when this CO2 concentration is going to increase as 0.1 percentage, right? And 0.1% of CO2 it going to greenhouse effect. So when we are having the greenhouse, in that what it is been done in the greenhouse, the CO2 is going to trap. So 0.1 percentage of CO2 is going to increase your photosynthesis rate, and hence we know that the plants which are present within the greenhouse, they are growing fast. So growth of the plant takes growth of the plants becomes very fast, or they are a speedy one, because of presence of high concentration of CO2. So actual CO2 which is required is 0.03 percentage of a CO2. Now see CO2 beyond 0.15 percent, so this will going to cause the adverse effect. So see which are those adverse effect. So here burning of shoot tips will take place, then uncontrolled growth, then less flowers, and fruit setting will take place. And even see the other gases like sulfur dioxide, SO2, then nitrous oxide, NO, then F is fluorine, chlorine, and O3 is ozone. So these gases, they have the toxic effects on plants, and which going to retards the growth of plant. So till here, till the gases, we have seen only the climatic factors. So in a climatic factor, we have learned temperature, light, then humidity, then wind, water, and these gases. So all these six factors we have seen under climatic factors. Now next is edaphic factors. So what is this edaphic factors? So edaphic factor is nothing but what? These are the soil factors which are known as edaphic factors. So here in this edaphic factor, what points we have to learn? That is structure of soil. Let me take again the pen of different color. So see structure, then texture, and nutrient availability of soil you have to learn under these edaphic factors. So I'm going to start with the structure of the soil. Getting so in the structure of soil, what you have to learn is the depth and nature of the particular topsoil and subsoil layer. So in a structure, the how much depth that soil is present, and the nature of that soil. Nature means which kind of soil is there. So that nature you have to learn. And why it is necessary? Because soil is very important for the healthy growth of the root system, and if the depth of the soil is less, the plant growth get stunted. See, okay, so depth is again very very important factor. So if your depth is more, then root is going to penetrate more within the soil, and hence the plant growth will be good in condition. If the depth is less, then the less area is available for the root growth. Then obviously plant growth get stunted. Then see next factor, that is soil texture. Now under the soil texture, what are the factors? So soil texture means type of soil. Ready? First, previously we have learned structure. Now here it is texture. Texture means type of soil. So here there are different kind of soils are there. Clay, loam silt, clay loam, silt loam, then sandy loam soils. These all soils are there and these are good for growth of plant. So these soils, above said soils, they are high water holding capacity. WHC, water holding capacity. So if soils are like this, then water holding capacity will be a good and plant growth will be a good one. So soil texture directly influences the soil water relationship, and that is going to again helps the aeration process, means concentration of air present within the soil, that nothing but aeration, and the penetrability through it, means how the air penetrates through the soil. So that is going to depend on the type of soil. Then texture also related to the nutrient status of the soil. Again see. So for example, sandy soil are generally nutrient deficient. See, sandy soils are nutrient deficit and so it is not useful for the growth of plant. We know that in a desert condition sands are there. So plants are not much in a desert condition. Okay, so this is the most important reason why plants are not growing there, because nutrients are not available, it is nutrient deficit soil, and hence plants are not growing in a desert condition, and even the water is not present over there. Now next is nutrient availability. So now see, we know that nutrients are of two types, macronutrients and micronutrients. So macro means what? The nutrients which are present in a abundant or in a major, and the micronutrient means the nutrient which are available in a lesser amount. So these are the macronutrients and micronutrients. So majorly the minerals which are present, they are said to be a macro and micronutrients. So which are those macro? So see here, N, nitrogen, P is phosphorus, K is potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur. So all these uh, six, they are coming under macronutrients, means plant they are required these minerals in a large amount for their growth. So these are macronutrients, whereas the micronutrients means what? These are iron, Fe, Mn, manganese, boron, molybdenum, then zinc, copper, sodium, cobalt, and uh, this is silicon, so Si. So all these are the micronutrients, means plant require these nutrients in a lesser amount. Yes, they are required in a lesser amount, but they are useful for the plant growth. Macronutrients as well as micronutrients. If the nutrients are more or higher in a soil, then soil pH is going to change if nutrients are more in a soil. So for the better growth of the plant, all minerals should present in a soil with required amount. Means whatever the plant requires, that much amount only present within the soil, and that should be in a soluble form. Means what? See, some minerals are there, they are available in a soil. For example, phosphorus. So phosphorus, they are available in the soil, but that is not taken up by the plants because that form is very heavy to take up by the plants. So those minerals should be converted into a usable form or acceptable form so that plant can take up those minerals from the soil. So now see third factor, which is biological factor. This is the last factor of external factors which are affecting to the plant. So see, biological factors are nothing but what? Biological factor includes various weeds, insects, and soil microorganisms such as blue-green algae, nitrogen-fixing bacteria, then denitrifying bacteria, decomposing bacteria, mycorrhiza, and soil fauna. So here see biological factor how they are going to affect our plant growth. So some are the biological factors which has the adverse effect, and some microorganism they has the positive effect, right? So here see I have mentioned the weeds. So some weeds are there which is going to compete with our main crop, right? So this is going to compete with our main crop, and hence the nutrient deficiency will be there for the main crop, and hence weed causes the adverse effect. See, when we are taking any main crop, then we are removing these weeds, because weeds are taking extra nutrients from the particular field. Then insects, see some insects are there, they are going to eat the apical portion of the plant, and hence the plant growth will not be take in a proper way. So these insects has again the adverse effect on a plant. But some microorganisms are there, for example blue green algae. Blue green algae, they are also called as cyanobacteria. This is very primitive microorganism, and this blue green algae going to provide you the nitrogen for the plant. So this is very important microorganism, that is blue green algae. Some nitrogen fixing bacteria, for example rhizobium. We know that rhizobium is very important bacteria which has the symbiotic association with the plant, and it going to fix the atmospheric nitrogen, uh, and in turns plant going to give some organic compounds for its growth, as well as the shelter for the bacteria. So symbiotic association between the rhizobia and the plants. So likewise means bacteria, they are providing nitrogen to the plants, and plants in turn giving shelter as well as the organic compounds for its